All right, guys, welcome to the Sweat Podcast. This is episode 16. Got a great show for you guys today. First of all, before we get into anything, I'd like to thank Murray's Plumbing and Heating. You can contact Raymond Murray at 443-488-2152. Services the Baltimore area, but we'll be soon expanding his area of service to the state of Delaware as well. So big thanks to Raymond Murray of Murray's Plumbing and Heating for sponsoring the podcast. Also, you can check out the Sweat Store, merch.streamelements.com/the sweat for t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, things of that nature. If you'd like to support the stream, that's the best way you can do it. So anyways, got a great show for you guys today. I have restructured a little bit for today's episode. You guys could see the title. We have an awesome guest for you today, Pool's biggest insider, Molina Mike, going to be on in just a few seconds here. So we're going to do all the professional scene stuff, the look around the pool world, and the what to watch section first. Interview with Molina Mike, and then at the end of the show, we'll handle the local stuff. I'll let Mike get out of here before that. So without further ado, guys, I would like to welcome my buddy, Pool's biggest insider, Molina Mike. How you doing, Mike?
I don't know, man. That's a lot to go and live up to. I don't know if I'm comfortable enough with that title.
Well, I mean, the Ian Rappaport of Pool, or what's the other guy? I don't know. I know you've been called this a whole lot, right? I can't remember ESPN's other guy, Adam Schefter of Pool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how. I mean, I get it. I get people can go and get there, and I'm a big fan of all things sports. So, yeah, I like to be putting the stuff out there first. That's for sure if I can. So, but it's tough because you got to go and balance things sometimes, and people will tell you stuff, and they're like, just hold it," and I'm like, "Oh man, come on!" And it's especially if it's real juicy, but we try to find a good balance, man. But you're doing great things, man. I'm glad to be on the show. I like things that are going to go and just support pool and put the game on a better platform. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And I think a point I'd like to point out of what you just said is that you don't get to be the guy that everybody goes to unless they know that they can trust you. If they say, "Hey, you can't say this until then," that and that says a lot about your character, and that's why people go to you, because they know that they can trust you, and you're gonna treat everybody respectfully, and that information will get out when it's supposed to. So, says a lot, man. I know a lot of people in the pool community appreciate that from you.
Yeah. It's been a roller coaster and just growing my personal page and now growing the I guess the podcast page is what you would call it, I guess. But just trying to do things more professionally like you guys. I'm not used to it, so I'm having to go and like learn all these things that I've never done before. And but it's with guys like you, guys like Joey, my buddy Dom, just pushing me and not letting me go and settle and half ass it and that. And I like evolving, man. And anything I can go and do to help with the game, I'm all about it. So it's been fun. It's been a roller coaster, that's for sure. But I wouldn't trade it for the world.
So by the way, guys, you can check out Molina Mike on Facebook, but go follow and like his Facebook page, Windows Open. Great for breaking news. He shares all kinds of live streams there. If there's anything big coming up, instead of watching a full episode of the Sweat Podcast, you can just glance over to his page and see what's coming up. Great for that. Definitely go do that, guys. Also, you and Joey Ryan just bought a portion of the One PKT company. Did you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, it's been we I don't know, we haven't really had a whole lot of time to really take a good bite out of it, but obviously I love One Pocket and I think the brand is super sharp with a lot of potential and momentum. So we're looking to go and I know the apparel, especially in the pool world, it can be a little flooded at times. But we're gonna do our best to just put out new designs and new product and make sure that website is just flowing and we're super excited and I like working with just like-minded people. And the great thing about it is that they go and they help me in areas where I come up short. So I think it's a good balance between the four of us. And yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I'm excited though.
So we're real quick, and then we'll get into what we got to do. But where can people find the One PKT at?
Yeah, you can shop for it off the Windows Open page as well, but the website is one the letters PKT and then .com. Uh,
Simple
from
enough.
shirts, yeah, shirts to hats. I think we're branching and we're expanding and tossing around ideas, to make that website more of a hub for One Pocket. We haven't quite dove in just yet, but the journey is going to go and be one step at a time. So we're going to be getting there.
You make a good point, and this will be the last thing I say. We'll get right into the show, but the apparel market for billiards can definitely seem to be a little flooded at times. But what I will say is that when I look at your guys' brand with the one PKT, it doesn't look like anything else I've seen before. So I think if you look across the billiards apparel, different companies, you see a lot of the same stuff, kind of similar, whether someone's copying somebody or if it's just the same kind of people making the same kind of products. To me, this looks completely different. And like you said, the logo's real sharp, looks nice, and I'm a fan. So once you guys expand that
Thanks,
inventory a
man.
little bit, I'll definitely be purchasing a couple items to support you guys. So looking forward to that. Let's jump right into this with our look around the pool world, guys. The Action Palace. This is Alex Ollinger's pool room out in is that Ohio or Chicago or
No, it's in Ohio, but
Ohio?
I think they ended up switching it up last minute, venue wise. I know Action Palace is the name of Alex's place, but for whatever reason, I think they had to move the venue, so it wasn't formally there. I know they had put it on the flyer. I just don't remember off the top of my head what it was, but um, it was bar table, a ball, one pocket. I know they had a three cushion ring game, a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, so the one pocket division, 27 players. It was a loaded field. Dennis Orcollo ends up winning it. Sky Woodward second. This is the second time we've seen Sky Woodward with a pretty high finish in a one pocket tournament here recently, right? He had a third place, I want to say, a couple weeks ago
No, I
somewhere.
think
What
so.
tournament was that? Do you
He came
remember?
up second. He came up second to Dennis and Aiken as well.
That's right.
He
Yeah.
actually won the hot seat from Dennis, and then Dennis, of course, double dipped him in the final. But it's funny because, and Sky will tell you this himself. If he goes and plays the game, he's as lethal as anybody because the kid just pockets the ball so well. He banks the ball really well. If he's got the patience for it, he can put the cue ball wherever he wants. I think he's got some more moving to go and learn, and he'll go and agree with you there. But if he were to go and actually put his mind to the game and his energy and his time, the kid can be a monster. I mean, he already is a monster, but even a more consistent monster when it comes to one pocket. So, and yeah, back to back pretty much for him.
Yeah,
Shows
so
a lot.
Dennis Urcolio wins there, and we don't even have to talk about Dennis. I mean, the only time you talk about Dennis at a one pocket tournament is if he doesn't win it, right? So
It's
Sky
true.
Woodward second, Roberto Gomez third, and he's might be right on the cusp of getting into that top five conversation for one pocket with his recent form. I mean, it's maybe not quite top five, but he's definitely in the top 10 conversation with the way he's been playing. He's finished top three in five or six one pocket tournaments that I can remember here in the recent memory. He's playing out of his mind.
Yeah, we're actually going to be doing hopefully the one PKT rankings video finally this weekend. We got some special guests, and we haven't quite. I was supposed to drop the flyer today, but we're just trying to iron out one last detail. But we're going to have Jeremy Jones and Scott Frost on there with us. Hopefully, at least that's the plan. So they're full of knowledge and personality and conversation. So we're looking forward to that. Yeah, I think Roberto is definitely in the top 10. I can't put him in the top five just because
It's
of
tough to
Chip.
crack that top five. Like that's like it's real classy up there. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, for sure. But he's got all the potential in the world, and he's been very consistent this year. He's been going deep in one pocket events, snapping off a 10 ball event. I think back to back second place finishes in Predator events. He was invited to the Predator CLP. Like he's been playing pool all year long, and it just shows. And even though he looks very young, I think he's in his mid 40s, but he's still playing pretty
really,
sporty.
I
Yeah,
would
I'm pretty
never
sure
have guessed that ever. I would have guessed he
he's
was
got a
like
baby face.
Sky's
That's why.
age.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
why. Yeah. Hmm.
All right, so Billy Thorpe finishes fourth. D. Adkins, Warren Kiamko fifth, sixth. And then we'll move on to the eight ball. 78 players for, and this was bar table eight ball, which is Alex Ollinger's best game. That's the why they played this game for this tournament. It's kind of a reflection of Alex Ollinger's heart there. My favorite game too, by the way, Mike. 78 players. Sky Woodward 1, Dennis Orcollo for 2 for this one. Sky actually double dipped Dennis in the finals. Third place, Nathan Wallace. Fourth place, Ryan Stone. Fifth, sixth, Shannon Murphy and John Gabriel. Seventh, eighth, Billy Thorpe and Jeffrey DeLuna. Anything in there you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm with you. I love bar table A ball. If I'm gonna watch bar table pool, I'll preface it with that because I can't stand pros playing bar table. Otherwise, I know whenever Dennis and Sky played that bar table 10 ball, it was a lot of fun. But seeing like Shane steamroll Dennis in bar table and 9 ball, I don't want any part of that. When they're able to go and rack their own with a template, it's no fun. But seeing them go and work through patterns. I don't know what this format was. I want to say it was just regular BCA, but
I think so,
I
yeah.
I like it more when it's take what you make because that'll really go and throw a wrench in there, and you really got to go and get creative
My
after
only
the break.
rebuttal to that, and I understand where you're coming from on that, Mike, but I think it almost ends up becoming a breaking contest when you make it take what you make, because in open after the break, it's absolutely 100% a run out game, right? The guys have to get
Yeah,
out. You have to
yeah,
get out, but um, take what you make. For it brings a little bit more moving and strategy into the game. But to me, the guys that do the best in that are just the guys that have figured out a way to just make more than one ball on the break and still have option, right? So,
yeah.
uh,
But it's so tough to like it. You don't have the control that you have like with the 10 ball break or with a 9 ball break. Like those guys are becoming like surgical when it comes to that post break layout, and you don't have that in 8 ball because and you'll see it as like a money match or as the tournament progresses, guys start getting frustrating, and I mean they're still hitting it square and more or less in the same area, but like you can tell their speed will go and shift because they're trying to figure out a way to get a damn ball down. You know,
you
guys
got to
like a
make
Corey,
adjustments for sure. It
yeah,
changes
yeah,
throughout the course of a tournament more than any of the other games as far as the
for
break's
sure,
concerned, for sure. I'm with you. I mean, either way, I like watching it. So, I mean,
yeah.
8 ball to me, bar table 8 ball, and when you do get a chance to watch the pros play it specifically, it's
Hmm.
unreal. So, anyways, we'll move on real quick. Actually, neither of us caught who won that 3 cushion ring game. So, sorry if anybody in the comments knows, drop it for us. Let us know. You guys got to keep us on our toes sometimes. Legends of Pocket Billiards 14.1 High Run Challenge. And just 2 quick pieces of news I'll mention real quick, and then I'll let Molina Mike give his thoughts on this whole situation before we move on into the what to watch. But Shane Van Boning did break his personal record for straight pool last week after attempting for about 4 days, 5 days straight. I think the second to last day he ran a 308 before
Nice.
an unfortunate roll on a breakout shot, I think it was. And now Ruslan Chinnikov is currently, I think right now they're live. He's attempting to do the same. So basic concept: the guys down there have set up. They've got some sponsors and set up a financial incentive for some of these top professionals to come in and try to break the record and try to break their own records and really just highlight the game of 14.1 straight pool for maybe people that haven't really seen it or understood it. By the way, Ruslan's very first attempt today. He had an unofficial warm up session yesterday, but today really started the official attempt for him. And on his first break, he ran 266.
Jesus, how strong is that?
That's crazy. And he's a as a I'm sorry. It's funny. I know you'll understand this, Mike. But the more you hang out with European guys doing, whether it's on podcasts or doing commentary, you pick up some of the lingo. So I'll say he's a proper straight pool player. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
2-time world champion, I believe. So, now what are your thoughts about the whole idea of what they're doing over there with the Legends of Pocket Billiards?
The premise of it I like. This whole John and Bobby Chamberlain drama on social media, I could do without. I could see why he would go and why John would go and be offended by it. He's got every right to be. Um, but just
Hold on,
from
hold on,
it,
hold on. Let me back you up for a second because I missed this. Can you break that down just a little bit objectively? Tell people what happened or whatever.
yeah. So if you follow John Schmidt on social media, in a nutshell, John took offense to them having Bobby go and do commentary for the 14-1 that they just had at Q Masters with all the pros. And in that, I guess Bobby was saying some things about John's record and discrediting it. And They have a history for sure. And John sent me a message in private and talked about it briefly. Um, but yeah, I guess if it was if if you're gonna go after the man's record and he's still around, get him involved somehow. Don't go and dog the guy privately and block him and his wife from being able to view these straight pull runs, through his page. Um, but just from a straight pull, foundation, I like the idea. Obviously, there has to be a financial incentive for those guys to go and spend a week out there or however long they're spending out there to go and do it. When you have big names, that'll go and put eyes on 14.1. And I know right now, like I'm seeing all over social media, all these pros going, posting to their timelines about April Larson practicing 14.1 and all these other people. And that's fantastic for the game, right? I just wish it didn't have like all this, drama at the base of it,
High school,
Um,
high school stuff, right?
yeah, yeah, for
So for
sure.
anybody that just in case anybody's watching doesn't know, when Molina Mike says John Schmidt is the current world record holder for the straight pool 14.1 high run with a 626. Actually beat Willie Mosconi's official record by about 100, I think exactly 100 balls.
Yeah.
Um, and so basically, these guys are going out to try to break their own records and break the record. I think the idea is that there's a lot of people that say if there were a financial incentive for these guys to play straight pool all the time, that with the world class talent that's involved, that the record would be broken and somebody would run 800 or 900 balls. Um, I think I tend to agree that if you had all the best players in the world playing straight pool all the time, that the record would fall. But I think we should point out on the drama side of that John Schmidt never, he was always humble about this, right? Like he never set out to try to prove that he was the greatest ever or anything like that. He just wanted to
Well,
take on the personal challenge of breaking that record, right? And if you hear him talk about it, like he's not like really presenting himself like I'm the greatest straight pool player ever or anything like that.
no, I mean he'll definitely show love and respect where it's due to anybody, whether it's Thorsten or players of the past, what have you. I mean, and John's very humble, but at the same time, John will tell you, hey, it's my record right now, and not in a cocky kind of way, but he worked his ass off, and some people will go and say, oh, well, he tried, and it wasn't in an event, and just little things to go and discredit. And I just, for the life of me, I can't understand like just the hate in the pool world in general. Like, I don't know, man. My mom always taught me if you don't got nothing nice to go and say, just don't say it. Just keep your mouth shut, And I get it, wanting to go and have an opinion or whatever, or have a backbone, but there's things you can do constructively and professionally, and just for full disclosure. So what John is saying that happened, I didn't watch a lot of the 14.1. I mean, I caught it here and there, and I was sharing it, but I didn't hear Bobby go and say anything specifically. So I can't say, yeah, I heard that guy go and dog him out. I'm
That's
just
fair. So
taking
this is
John.
all
Yeah,
secondhand, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. And I mean, there was a lot of people going and watching. So I'd imagine that if that were the case, someone probably would have called out John and just said, no, that never happened. But
right.
no, I listen. I think you're right. If more pros went and focused on it and just dissected it and really took time to go and play straight pool, with the same amount that they go and play like a rotation, a 9 ball or 10 ball, whatever, it would have a threat. But I also think that you can go and say Shane's as pure a player as anyone, a pure pocketer of the balls, has a ton of knowledge, has just a ton of tools up his sleeves. And for him to only get to 3-0, whatever it was, 306 or 308, not knocking that because that's fantastic, right? But like relative to the 626, really just shows what an accomplishment that John's done, in my mind.
I mean, there's so many ways you could talk about it, right? Like just to
Yeah.
even if you didn't have to play a breakout shot, let's say you were just able to throw the balls out on the table open and start with ball in hand every rack, even just to be able to run balls for 8 hours straight and never have one little mental hiccup where you shank one. You know what I mean? Like that in itself is
Yeah.
very very noteworthy. But then to have to break the balls every 14 and be able to deal with the clusters and
The
fade
chaos.
all the rolls that can happen, right? It's
Yeah.
so easy to scratch on a break or just get buried somewhere, right? And to do it for however, I don't know the exact number of how long it takes, but I know it takes several hours to run that many balls. It's so impressive. Oh my gosh. And if you watch Shane play, for my money, I think Shane is a little bit too aggressive to be the one to break the record. Obviously, he has the talent. But
You mean
if you
like his
watch
style
Shane,
of play?
yeah, his style of play, playing 14.1, he's so aggressive. He breaks the balls. He tries to solve the rack on the break shot. He really does. And
Yeah.
some of the more traditional 14-1 players, they seem like they have a little bit of more patient style where if they don't have the perfect breakout, they'll just kind of snap a couple off and rework and then go into a secondary break and things like that. Shane's super, super aggressive, and it
Because
pays
his
off. I mean,
timing with that power, when you have those things married together, he wants to be able to get that, and that's why I'll tell you he hates one pocket, because he doesn't want to have to wait for it. He wants to go attack. He's an offensive player.
exactly. And if you watch Shane, what tends to happen is three out of every four racks he does solve on the break shot. There's no balls anywhere near each other, a couple balls down, and it's just picking them off. And so the good thing about that is you do get to kind of freewheel a little bit, where I'm sure some of the guys that are more tactical or tactical, like Torsten or like Ruslan right now, like they're going to have to work a lot harder throughout, which makes it more difficult to do over a long period of time. So if Shane had the luck to be able to go on a long stretch without anything bad happening, it may be a formula to get there. I just think it might be a hair too far in that direction where you really need a lot of luck to get there.
Yeah, the stars definitely got to go in line for you to get that kind of run in you.
Well, and we should say the stars really have to align for anybody to get there, right? Like John will
Yeah.
tell you, like stuff has to go right. Um, but anyways, I'm not sure how much the people watching or one straight pool fans. So we've already talked about this for about 10 minutes. So we'll move on to something else. Real quick, what to watch this week, guys. Like I did mention, the Legends of Pocket Billiards 14.1 High Run Challenge. Ruslan Chinnikov going to be going at it all week. You can pretty much watch whenever you want. It's shared everywhere. I don't even need to tell you where to find it, but you can search Legends of Pocket Billiards on Facebook. Jason versus Dennis coming up soon. 10-ball race to 120. That's November 19th through 21st on Omega TV pay-per-view. We're not going to talk about that. Mike's probably broke that down about 10 times already on different podcasts. So, Mosconi Cup presented by Matchroom coming up December 7th through 10th live from Alexandria Palace in London, England. You can catch it on the DAZN app or Sky Sports if you're not in the United States. And so that's it for the what to watch, guys. We're going to get right into this actual interview with Molina Mike. And I want to start it out, Mike, with a question. Let's talk about the concept of what you call jelly. And I've heard maybe some people don't know what that is. So first of all, let us know what jelly is, and then why is it such an important concept to you?
Well, I mean, these guys aren't going and making a lot of money. When I say these guys, I mean, pool players or professional pool players specifically. So if they're going and playing a money match, and if you got something decent, I mean, I'm not talking about, a $20 wager, but if you're going and betting something, and that horse goes and wins you some money, give him a tip, thank him and show that appreciation in a financial way with them, because that goes a long way for some of these guys. It's different because I guess I'm friends with a lot of them, and some of my betting patterns may be a little bit more public than others, you know. So in that regard, I guess maybe I feel a little more obligated than the average guy who can go and just not have it be so aware and out there, right? But no, I think it just helps them out in the grand scheme of things. They're not making the kind of money like other professional athletes, and whether or not pool players are is a whole other different conversation and debate. And I don't want to get into that, but I just think that if you're going to go and have a horse that you're going to willing to go and fire on, and you go and win some money, I mean, go and help them out a little bit. Um, when you have stake horses and stuff like that, they have a percentage agreement that they go and agree to before any of that's even done, or they go and back them. But and side betting, I mean, I've heard all different kinds of arguments. Well, I mean, I only bet X amount with my friend and blah blah blah, and that was private. And I mean, I get it. It to me, it's more of just etiquette than anything else, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I love the whole concept. To me, it's a bigger concept in general than just pool itself and professional pool players. And I agree with everything that you said. But to me, there's just something about living life with an attitude of gratitude, right?
Yeah.
Where and not this like close-handed. There's an old saying, something like nothing gets into or out of a closed hand, right?
Right.
And just in my experience, the more um, generous I am, I guess we'll say, the more I give out, the more comes back. And that's not the reason why you do it, but it just makes you feel good. It
Yeah.
makes other people feel good about you, feel good about doing business with you and whatever it is. And it just makes you feel better. Like you talked about the negativity a little while ago, and it doesn't have to be pocket billiards, right? It can be anything. People are so
Right.
negative in general in our society that, I mean, shoot, you hop on any comment section or chat room anywhere on the internet about anything, and you're going to be ready to fist fight somebody in a matter of minutes if you really put any time into that, because people are just so inherently negative. And
Especially online.
yeah, online, and that's a great point too. And I
Yeah.
just started listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, which I don't know how I've faded so far into my life, but man, what a great show. But one of the things I heard him talking about on one of those episodes a little while ago was that you if you just went on your daily interactions with people, like actual face-to-face interactions, you would have no idea the kind of negativity and polarity, whether it be politically or whatever, because people just don't act like that, right? I mean, even if you
Right.
have disagreements, like the general idea is that most people act like adults about it, and can even have a decent conversation if it's face to face. But on the internet, like all that's out the window. It's crazy.
It goes south so fast, and people just start, bumping their chest out so quickly when they're typing. It's unreal. I don't know. I tend to stay away from stuff for the most part, just because I try to keep, my page is, just about pool. Um, but yeah, for sure. I mean, you see it, and I've had guys who were really good friends of mine, like really, really good friends of mine, and they'll send me a message, man, so and so, such a this or that, and I'm like, what happened, dude? Like, what is going on? Like, and both of you guys are my buddies, and then he'll send
Yes.
me the screenshot, and it's like some Democratic versus Republican meme, and I'm just like, okay, well, yeah, I guess that's what happens, And some people, it triggers more easier than others. uh, you know, I've always just been a fan of what my beliefs are going to be mine and what yours are yours. And I love differences in people. I think that's part of what makes the world so great, is how people are so different. But I think there's a way that you can have differences and still have civility and respect for one another and perspective, because you have to be able to step back and think, maybe I'm not, the guy with all the answers or the guy who's always right, because I want to go and have a healthy debate. And I think that's a positive thing you can go and take out of life like that. But not everyone's like that, man. And when it comes to like the jelly aspect of it, I mean, guys will go and say, "Well, they didn't go and give me any money whenever they lost." Well, then you know what? You shouldn't have been betting, you cheap MF.
Knit.
Like, yeah, yeah, for lack of a better word, right? Um, and do it for fun. Go and wager something that you're comfortable in doing, first of all. And even if it's throwing them, man, even if it's throwing them $50 to go have a steak dinner or whatever it is, that stuff goes a long way.
Oh,
um
sure.
yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, like there's been times where I've dogged it too, and I've forgotten about it. When I see someone, they'll go and do, I mean, when I think it was when Shane and Dennis played the first time. uh Dennis calls me one day and he says, "Mike, I'm looking to go and bet some more on myself." And I said, "Okay, well, how much you looking to bet, Dennis?" And he says, "Up to 20,000, but I'll be willing to go and bet more, and I'll call you in a couple of days if it goes up, or but anything you go and get, just confirm it with me." And I knew, don't get him nothing small, right? So I think I ended up getting them, like, I want to say it was like between 5 and 8,000. And Dennis, no, 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 it was 10. That's what it was. It was 10. And Dennis broke me off a little bit. That wasn't why I did it, but it's just that etiquette kind of goes both ways, you know. And it was funny because I think I was on the Shane side of betting, so it was like I ended up losing money on the betting side of it, and then Dennis threw me some jelly, so
Did
I
you get
appreciated that.
close to even or no, overall?
No, 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 no. I still lost, but it made this thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it made this thing a little better, you know.
there you go.
But I mean, listen,
It's funny.
losing
It's
he'll
an
he'll.
interesting way to hedge your bet right there, Mike.
Well, I like
I know
to go
that's
and
not why you
gamble,
did it.
but
I'm just being
guaranteed,
silly.
yeah, I mean, but guaranteed money is also fun too, right?
Mhm.
Um, And I've done that with some friends of mine who like to go and we'll go and gamble, you know, let's say 3 to 5 thousand at a time. If even if I don't want it, I'm sure I can find someone who does, and they'll throw me a little bit, but I don't go and at this point it's like they understand that I'm helping them out, so they'll go and throw me a little bit. Percentage wise, that'll just vary, but it's just good etiquette. If someone's helping you out, say thanks. Simple
Yeah, it's
enough, right?
I think it's awesome, and look, I never want to be the guy to ask for anything, right? On in that regard, you
Right.
don't want to be the guy as distasteful as it is to be the guy winning with a closed fist like this. It's just as distasteful to be the guy. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
just as bad. But I would like to point out I was at a and we haven't quite figured out in this industry a great model to get streamers and commentators paid. It's one of the things that we're trying to work out right now, right? But I was at a tournament a couple weeks ago, maybe almost a month ago now, where I was live streaming the event, and I got to tell you, it was a pretty decent Calcutta. It was just a 1 day event, and all three of the top finishing players in that event uh, handed me $50 on their way out the door. All three of the guys that finished in the top three, and I got to tell you that changed the whole dynamic of the financial side of my day. I mean, like significantly. Like I wasn't making a lot of money to do it, and
Yeah.
stuff like that just goes a really long way. And like you don't know, like it wasn't the case with me that day, but it could have been a day where I was, not really feeling great. Maybe sometimes some of this stuff gets to be a little bit more like work than we would want it to be.
For sure.
And if a guy's feeling like that and you throw him a little something, man, that can go a long
Oh,
way
it'll
towards
go it'll go and fill up your gas tank. And I mean that like figuratively as much as I do literally, because
psychologically, right? Like
yeah,
you're just like,
I
man,
know
people care what I'm doing. They appreciate what I'm doing.
Vegas, for example, man, whenever I mean we were grinding out so many long days, man, for 12 hours at a time, and getting up super early, going to bed late. I mean, I was burnt out, but at the end of
I
it, I
could
think it
I
was like
could tell you were burnt out. That the
yeah,
dynamic of our commentary changed by the end of the week. You could tell that
yeah.
you would rather been in the hotel room by the end of it,
Oh, for sure. Like
and
I
nobody could
wanted to
blame
go and
you.
just sleep. I wanted to go sleep. Uh, but I remember whenever I think we finally put up some payment information up there, and it felt good to go and I'll tell you what, and this is true story. So like afterwards, just the amount of messages that I've gotten from people, just the thanks, like, hey man, I really enjoyed what y'all did out there, or what, thanks a lot for what you're doing out there. And even if it's not financial, right? Because it's not always just about that. Even if it's just positive words, man, and just encouragement, and just, hey, I acknowledge what you're doing and I appreciate it. That should just for me is like, all right.
Some
Because
sometimes
there's times
that's
where I get, yeah,
sometimes that's better even, right?
yeah, for sure. And just to go and when I see it, I'm just like, and it's for me, it's because I've done it my own way, and I'm also very proud. And what I mean by that is I don't like asking for handouts when it comes to stuff. A lot of people don't know, but when I go and travel to a lot of these events, I do it on my own dime, and I figure out ways to go and make that trip profitable. Whether it comes to business deals that I'll go and set up with players, or things to go and buy while I'm out there, whatever it may be. I've become very on my toes when it comes to figuring out a way to go and stay in the green. And this other side of it, whenever we're doing the commentary and the streams, and that was all brand new to me because I've never been on that side of it. And whatever money we did make, I ended up putting it towards my new, well, not my new, my phone at the time, because I upgraded the phone to go and stream a better quality for the people at home. So, which was great, and I'm still getting used to using it. But I wanted to make sure the at home experience was great, and it was cool that people, number one, threw some jelly, right, to go and say thanks. But number two, just all the positive words, hey, we appreciate you and thanks a lot. And it's really, I think that whole deal that we did out there really pushed people to, step up your game when it comes to doing tournaments, because, we're coming.
Yeah, I mean, like, how's that? How good does that feel the other day on Cue It Up podcast when what's Rob's last name?
Oh boy, don't put me on the spot
All
like
right, well,
that.
I don't know either, so it's but in my defense, I've never talked to him
Yeah,
either, so that's on
yeah,
you. But anyways, the guy Rob that's always on Nate's
yeah.
podcast, so, well, a lot of people know what I'm talking about. How good does that feel when a guy says to you, "Man, I really don't watch that much pool. I don't really enjoy watching that much pool as far as streams go. But I really tuned in when you guys were out in Vegas because you specifically, Molina Mike, brought a different dynamic to the commentary that made it very enjoyable for me to watch. Like, how's that make you feel, man? That's
It's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, for sure. And it's different. And I'm not used to it because it really, when I'm in there and I'm cutting up with you or I'm cutting up with Joey or Nate or whatever, it's just, for me, it's just us, just being ourselves, And then it's only whenever we'll go and meet people and people will say thanks and show some love or when Joey will be like, yeah, we're at 900 people watching. And I'm like, what? We're at 900 people
Yeah.
watching. So, but no, it does mean a lot, man. And it goes a long way. And whether it's in words or if it's a player you don't know, listen, most of these guys are online. Go and shoot them a PM. Yo, thanks a lot for winning me the cheese. Send me your payment and I'll send you some jelly, man. That they will appreciate that. They will thank you for that. They'll remember that. And it'll help them out, man, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. So I guess we can move on from that. We got a lot to talk about with this Mosconi Cup. I wanted to, as soon as I started the podcast, Joey told me to reach out to you and see if you'd come on. And like right away, you agreed. You said, "Hey, I'll come on whenever you want." And I've waited a while. I've waited a real good while. This is my 16th episode, so we're a couple months in.
Nice.
But I wanted to find a real good spot to get you on, and I think we found it because we finally have the full picture for the Mosconi Cup, right? So I think there's a ton to talk about. I know you. I hope you're not tired of talking about it because I know you've spent a lot of time talking about the Mosconi Cup already. But I really appreciate you coming on to have this conversation. It means a lot to me, and
For sure.
hopefully everybody watching will enjoy it as well. So first of all, what were your initial thoughts right when the Earl Strickland selection came out for Team USA? I want to like the very first things that popped into your head there.
I love it. I think it's genius, and I'm hearing it from both sides of people, friends of mine, players, people in the industry going and saying it's a terrible move, and some people go and think it's a brilliant move, and I'm of the opinion that it's a brilliant move. I've been saying for months that there's no way they can go back in there with the same team. So for them to go and throw a curveball in there, uh, I think is fantastic because you can't go wrong. I mean, listen, you got smoked like 11-3 last year or whatever it was. So um, you really you all you can go is up, right? So you throw a curveball on Earl Strickland, that'll go and keep the other team on their toes. That'll go and add for viewers because as much as people are going to go and dog on that selection, maybe go and say, what does that say to the other players? And I get it. Believe me, I do. But listen, Earl's got a big reputation, and he casts a big shadow, and it's because of not just his history in the game, but also his antics. And whether you love him or you hate him, you're going to tune in to watch him because you want to go and see. It's why you all listen. If you're on one side of the freeway and there's nothing going on, you're going to be in dead still traffic when there's an accident on the other side. And the reason why is because everybody wants to watch. Um, and that's what you get with Earl Strickland. And you're either going to get his brilliance or you're going to get the car wreck. And either way, you're going to be watching to go and see what's going on. So, um, I think I really do. I'll stand by it. I think it's a fantastic move, but it sucks because there was a lot of guys also who were fighting for that spot and who maybe were more deserving, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts that I'll get out there, and I haven't talked about it too much on the podcast yet. So I'll take throughout the course of this conversation, I'll give a couple of my ideas that I've had along the way. Initially, I thought what a lot of people thought that it almost seemed like this was a matchroom pick. You know what I mean? And I know Nate disposed of that rumor or idea or what have you. Like these picks were all made by Jeremy and Shane, right? Like or Matchroom does not pick any of these players.
Well, like,
Um,
don't get me wrong, they're a part of the conversation because at the end of the day, it's their show, right? And so, um, like when I talked to Emily, she made no bones about it that she's, I don't want to say involved, but like that conversation still ran through her, whether she's the middleman or otherwise. But it's her event to go and produce. So, and at the end, and like I said, I mean, listen, if it's 11-8 or 11-9, and they're really trying to like, man, I need the guy to go and get me 2 more points. All right, fair enough. Then you go and handle your team the way you want. But listen, they didn't show up last year, and Matchroom does not want to go and have another 11-3 year. I can guarantee you 1000%. So for everyone saying Earl can't play pool anymore, what are they thinking? Listen, I guarantee you they ain't trying to go and have him get steamrolled again.
That's
They're
a great
hoping that
point. Like,
they get some kind of spark out of it.
yeah, and I've heard all these people making it sound like Matchroom is setting things up for Euro. I'm like, listen, guys, like Matchroom, and even the people that are saying like Matchroom only cares about ratings. Well, that's partially true, and if that is true, why would they want 11-3? They don't want 11-3. They want it to go 4 days. They want everybody watching. They want USA to have a chance to win. And you could make the argument that a USA upset would actually be the best thing that could happen for Matchroom.
Are you kidding? Even if it's somewhat competitive, man, like if it's an 11-8, 11-9, yo, I guarantee. I mean, I'll say it here first. Earl will be back next year in Las Vegas, and it'll be nuts because then it's like we got a chance. We got a legitimate chance to go and upset them. When right now, I mean, just with the bookies, they're 2.5. Or no, probably more than that. I think it's probably closer to almost three now. Probably three
So
to one on the money.
3-1 on the money. And
Two
what's
and a
the
half,
line?
three.
What are they putting the line at? Like 5?
I don't know. I haven't really looked at the games to be honest with you, but I wouldn't want any part of games because it's short race 9 ball. Like for me, I like Europe, right? But I don't want to go and lay the games because short race 9 ball is a gamble at the end of the day. And I think all those guys, I think Chris, Tyler, of course, Shane and Sky, and for that matter, Earl. Earl played some top Europeans over the last few months, so Earl can run a rack of 9 ball. I guarantee you, those cameras and those lights are not going to go and fade them. They're going to get the cameras are going to get faded by Earl because Earl's that big of a personality, you know.
Yeah.
And no moment's going to be too big for him because he's a champion. So I just hope that they can just get some kind of spark. Even though I'm betting on Europe, you know, uh, I want to see a competitive event, and
So
Matchroom does too.
my initial thoughts were negative with the Earl. And listen, I still, if somebody straight up asked me, I still don't agree per se with the Earl pick, and there's a couple reasons for that. I think some of his antics, even recently, right, it sends the wrong message to some of the younger generation coming up that this sort of behavior can be rewarded. But beyond that, if you just take out that part of the conversation, besides that. The pick didn't quite make sense to me at first, but once I got the full picture, Mike, once I saw Chris Reinhold and Tyler Steyer as the last two. And now you've got a team that's made up of Shane, Tyler, and Chris. These guys are introverts. These guys are the not for how they play the game, but for how they behave at the table and how they process, and they're basically a team of all Albinautians, right? Like these guys aren't going to be outwardly showing emotion unless this is the thing. Like you'll see some of them do it, but to me, it's manufactured. It's not natural. Like there's never a
Oh,
time where you're going to see Shane, Tyler, or Chris outwardly expressing emotion, positive or negative, at the table, maybe with the exception of at the very end of a tournament when they win or something like that. And you could make the argument that this is a different environment and it
well,
brings it out in everybody. But I don't know. I mean, for my money, when I'm watching it, I think there's certain guys that are just like that, right? And then certain guys that feel like they have to try to somewhat go that way to be what is needed for that situation. So to
well,
me, I think the Earl pick not only brought a guy that, like you said, he could still play some 9 ball, right? Um, and especially in a short race, and he's not going to be affected by the limelight and all this stuff. But to me, he replaces a good portion of what Team USA is losing by not having Billy Thorpe on the side of emotion and energetic leadership, right? That's for me what made the most sense about this pick.
yeah. I mean, Earl's not gonna go. You're not gonna be able to keep Earl in a box. I mean, he's old. Old, you know, he's gonna go and do what the hell he wants to do when he wants to go and do it within reason, right? Um,
Sometimes within reason.
Yeah, 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 exactly. But you know, for people that brought up, you know, you know what happened at 14.1, I asked Emily about it specifically, and that deal with Earl had already been in place prior to that. And when I said what, because that's a fair argument to go and say about, well, how can you go and reward that shit? And she pretty much told me like it is. Listen, we're not the governing body. At the end of the day, we're a sports promotion, a sport promoter business. So we are not the governing body. It is not our responsibility to go and punish you, especially about something that had nothing to do with them. That was not a matchroom event, and Earl got punished for what happened at that event.
By getting kicked out, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, um, yeah, it's I don't know. I get it. I get it to an extent, but these, conspiracy theorist ideas are a little far fetched at times for me. But that's the reason why, like, I don't like to bullshit about it. I want to go straight to the source. That's why I hit up Emily and I said, yo, I'm gonna ask you some questions. And right before we went on, I said, if there's anything, or no, she pretty much told me, like, if there's anything I don't want to go and talk about, I won't go and talk about. And I said, that's fair, you know. And but luckily there wasn't anything that she turned down. I think she's very aware of how she's perceived. But at the end of the day, listen, there is no, if you're somebody putting the amount of money into it, like Matchroom Pool is, then you can go and critique them, in my opinion, and really have a leg to go and stand on. But if you're not even putting in a dime into it, and then you're still knocking them, it's a little tough to go and I don't want to say give respect, because I got a lot of friends of mine who will go and have something to say about them. But I mean, like, just give them a fair chance. Like, I know they've been at it for a while, but really, before COVID, the horizon looked good for Pool, and I think we're starting to get there now. But she's in a position, and they're in a position to go and make moves that sometimes has to be is for the better of the game and for the sport, to get viewers and sponsors involved. That nobody else has done it. Nobody. I don't care what promoter. No one's done it to their level. And even every great event that I went and saw, from the international to Derby City or whatever, they're not even close. You're not even in the same ballpark as what Matchroom does.
Right.
So, kudos for trying, and I appreciate and I love what you guys are doing at the same time. But it's not the same league. They don't have that reach like Matchroom Pool does. But for some of their decisions, they may go and get villainized for it, and that's. I mean, I think she's aware of that, and she'll flat out tell me, "Hey, I'm fine with it." You know, I'll stay off social media, is what she'll go and say. You know.
Well, I think one of the things we ought to point out is you don't really hear these negative conversations coming from the professional players, right? The professional players have nothing but good things to say about any of these things that Matchroom are doing, right? I mean,
Well, I
unless
mean,
in
yes,
specific
yes and
situations where
no.
I mean, there might be guys that feel slighted by the Earl pick, so maybe there's some guys that have talked about that or whatever.
No,
But
I mean, I think even the bigger names may not necessarily agree with every move that she goes and makes, right? Because nobody's perfect, and everyone's their own person and will have their own opinion about it. But, like, there's a time and place for everything, and we're all very aware of that, because we're all adults in a functioning society, right? So they know, like, if you're gonna go and have something to go and say that maybe she may not like it, maybe not go and do it in a public way. Maybe go and do that shit in private, and y'all guys can go and figure out a way to work with one another. Certain guys are good with that, and some guys aren't. Some people just rubber the wrong way, like a Deshane. So, um, but yeah, I mean, when it comes to Earl and his personality and Shane's and lack thereof, I, I think Chris is very light and on his toes, and very sarcastic and funny, and I don't think he takes it too seriously. And Tyler's emotions, you can see all over his face, because he'll turn red. And Shane can get frustrated too. We've seen it in Mosconi Cups in the past, where he feels buried, and he's just like, he's annoyed, and he's just over it. And he knows, like, he's already mentally checked out. So it's and I like, for better or worse, like, I love seeing the emotions. I love seeing these guys pissed off and upset. I love seeing these guys celebrate, and maybe to an extent with some of them, it's made for that stage, because Josh isn't like that otherwise. Josh is not going to go and be that, you know, have that much personality elsewhere. Jason's not like that otherwise.
right.
And I
So
and it
just to point out so just to maybe clarify what I'm saying, and I think you understand what I'm saying, but in case anybody doesn't, to me, even though there's a certain way that you act at everywhere else, and then you have Mosconi Cup, right? There's still a very tangible difference, palpable difference between how naturally it comes to guys like Josh and Jason to be like that, and Billy, right? To be like that, as opposed to guys like Tyler and Chris and Shane. And Chris maybe slightly outside, but he's more on the
He
introverted
is.
side than those
Yeah,
other
he
guys
is.
for
Yeah,
sure, right?
that's
Like,
fair. Yeah. Well, I mean, like compared to a Billy or or a Filler or a Jason for sure, but they're kind of. I think that's what makes him great for the Mosconi Cup because and he can be a villain here in the States, and that's fine. But you know what? That villain's going to be on that stage again come December 7th.
oh,
When some people,
what's
yeah,
funny about it is he might be a villain, but then if you have a conversation leading up to Mosconi Cup, there's like 30% of the audience saying, "Why can't Jason play for the United States?" Which is
oh
ridiculous, right?
yeah,
But
yeah, for sure, yeah,
so
no, for
apparently,
sure.
it's not that much of a villain.
No, but I mean, people just you'll hear it on social media where they'll go after these guys like personally, and it's
Yeah.
crazy to me, and I can't stand it. And I got a family, and I mean, I wouldn't want some of those things said about me or want any one of my kids going and seeing it, but it's they go out there, they play a role, but they're competitive, and I think that's the fundamental part of it all is how deep and um how insane that level of I want to win goes with these guys because it's a prestigious event, and especially on the European side, there's 20 guys right there waiting for you just to make the smallest of mistakes for to go and take your spot and pretty much get a
Yeah.
guaranteed $30,000. And when it comes to the European side, it's the littlest of things that go and decide whether or not they're taking this guy or they're taking the next guy. So, and at the end of the day, you got to check off a lot of boxes to go and play in the Mosconi Cup. You really do. And it's not just a matter of whether you can go and run a 9 ball rack, whether your Fargo is X amount. There's a number of different things that factor into it, but it's match from show, man. And I know I'm going to be watching. You'll be watching, and everyone else who goes and dogs on Earl. I bet you anything they're going to be watching
They're
too.
they're gonna be watching for sure. So I think that's a great
Yeah,
segue into what I wanted to get to here. If you look at Team USA, and I'm going to give you the numbers for Team USA breakdown by Fargo ranking inside the top 100 in the United States. Shane Van Boning at 831, obviously first. Everybody knows that, right? Sky Woodward
right.
802, tied for second. Earl Strickland, eighth, 776, right? And some people would make the argument that those numbers are skewed a little bit because it's a lot of history packed into that, right? Tyler
Right.
Steyer, T15 with a 761, and Chris Reinhold, 38th placed on this list with a 742. Actually, interestingly enough, Jeremy Jones, team captain, 28th on the list with a 751. So, what do you what do you say to these people that downplay the skill set of Chris Reinhold? And this is going to be his second go of it, right? Real still, we talked about basically a rookie because he hasn't played in front of the crowd, right?
Right.
So, but what's your rebuttal to these people that say maybe Chris Reinhold doesn't deserve this opportunity when it seems that there's a number of other players in the United States that maybe have a better skill set?
Yeah, I think that's what I was talking about earlier. Just that it's more than just playing pool, and I couldn't go and hate on the kid because he does everything the right way. And it's not, and as much as I was pulling for Oscar and posting all that stuff online about it, I'm friends with Chris too. And I know Tyler and know what he can go and do when he's playing right, when any of them are playing right. Um, I think it shows that if you do things the right way, like you can still get rewarded for it. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that they were playing necessarily better than my boy Oscar was, right? But they went and traveled they had a full season. They all did. They were going everywhere to go and play pool.
Those boys worked
Um,
hard, man.
they
And you
did.
you know, Mike, you and I talked about how tired we were at the end of that run, right? After before Aiken, right? I think Aiken's kind of the week where the guys that really needed a break went and took a break, right? But before
Yeah.
that, there was like basically 2 months straight where every single week the guys were on the road playing somewhere, and almost everybody was in action on that, right? So with how tired we felt after that, just sitting in chairs talking about pool, basically. Imagine what the players felt like.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. And that was just the beginning, man. Like from being on the road to living out of a hotel room to the fast food to just a long day. I mean, just every single part of it. I couldn't imagine. And I know that Chris didn't. I don't think Chris attended all the Predator events, but for the he had a full season like otherwise, right? Like he was at the U.S. Open and all these other big events. So um, I think he played in the CLP. I know he didn't do very well in it, but um, which is an invitational, and there's a whole different conversation to be had whether that's fair or not, right? But um, listen, Chris played fantastic last year, and uh, he showed that not one guy is going to go and intimidate him because Kachi was playing as good as anyone, and Chris is supposed to win that match. You're not going to see him going overrun that shape the way that he did. And I remember it was during Shane and Dennis part one, and it was at Bill's in Oklahoma, and Chris was there, and we're talking, and it's just me and him. And I said, "What are you going to do if they have that crowd there? Like, are you going to go and fold?" Like, I'm kind of just needling him for a reaction a little bit. And he's like, "I can't wait, Mike." And after he got announced, I asked him the same question. I said, "You gave me an answer a year ago. What's your response today?" And he said, "I can't wait." And that's what I want. Like that's what I want to see out of someone who's going to go to bat for you. Is I want them to want to embrace that moment, not go and say like, "Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to be nervous," or "No, bring it on." Whether he dogs it or he does fantastic in it, listen, he's earned the right to go and be there. Um, and you can go and say, well, there's a bet this so and so can play 9-ball pool better than him, or so and so had a better year. You know what? They did things the right way, and at the end of the day, um, it wasn't it wasn't just a numbers game, right?
Right. I
Because I
couldn't
don't.
agree more.
Yeah, and I don't. I mean, just on the point of what you said about Jeremy, I don't think anyone's going to go and put Jeremy Jones in the box against Chris Reinhold.
Yeah,
You know.
no, no, not right now. Jeremy, and
Yeah,
same as the
and
Earl
it's not.
thing,
And
right?
it's not
There's a lot of
disrespect. Yeah,
well,
yeah.
there's a lot of history packed into that Jeremy Jones ranking, right?
Yeah, yeah, for
So
sure. And I think that's where like Fargo and I like Mike and all of them. They're fantastic guys, and I love what they're doing. Um, but there's a lot of things that doesn't quite take into account, and that's why whenever we were there talking with them during Vegas, it was really great to go and see how like some of these guys' current Fargo was. Like Yap was batting something like an 830
850
something.
something for like
Yeah,
a
it was
2
something
months.
stupid. Yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just insane. And those are the numbers that I would give, more weight to.
Do you know if they're
Um,
working on that? If they're making it to where you can check somebody's select a period
recent.
of time?
I don't know as far as that availability on there, but I know that they have a way to go and figure out those numbers because they told me as much, and they were giving me specific numbers. So, um,
I
as
gotta
much
get
as I
I gotta
like,
get Mike on here.
yeah, for
And
sure.
everybody that hasn't should definitely go check out Pool Player Podcast and listen to the interview that Joey did with those guys. But I'd love to have them on here and ask them some questions. Mike's a great guy. I like both them guys a lot. Ton of respect for both of them, and I'm a huge advocate for Fargo. But I've got a lot of questions that I'd like to talk to those guys about. And one of the best things about those guys is how upfront and honest they are about everything.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. And they're available online as well. So I'm sure they would love to go and come on with you. I yeah, I mean USA is going to be up against it, and it's easy to go and say, um, you know, if let's say they go and get smoked again, oh, we can go and blame Chris and Tyler and Earl. BS. Listen, you win as a team, you lose as a damn team, and um, I think I think that Shane and Jeremy have faith in the guys that they have with them. Is it the best 5 Americans that could possibly go out there? I don't think it is, but that's not what we're trying to do here because there's a lot of other things that factor into having a great team. And Chris knows what it takes to go and win. Tyler knows what it takes to go and win. And I can promise you, there ain't nobody on Team USA is working harder than Tyler Steyer is. Nobody, and that's Shane
yeah.
included. He works his ass off. So, um, but I think it'll be different. I'm excited to have fans back. I want to see how like I want to see the show. If they go and fold, I want to watch them go and fold. If they go and shine, I want to watch them go and shine. I'm excited to go and celebrate it. I don't think the Europeans are going to play perfect. I think they're going to be enjoying it a lot. I think they're going to be enjoying we're coming in as big favorites. We just won 11-3. They got no shot. Well, I guarantee you that all it takes is a couple of wins to really put their asses in check that they got to go and take this team seriously. Um, I'm looking forward to talking more with some of these players. I should have an interview with Shane, hopefully this week, Jeremy at the end of the week, and then I'm going to be working on Jason and some of these other guys. So um, I'm I'm excited for it. And whether we're talking good things about it or bad things about it, at the end of the day, we're talking about it and pulls back,
Absolutely.
pulls relevant.
So I'm going to give you a hypothetical here. Let's say Team USA does not get to we'll say 4 or less. They don't get the 5 again this year. Um, we're both sports fans, right? I know you're a big sports fan, and there comes a time in every franchise organization's thought process where they realize, okay, listen, we do not have a team to win with right now. Um, and you start working on making steps in the process to start building towards more success in the future. Do you think there's a possibility that, like, say that happens, say Team USA doesn't get the 5 this year? Do you have to start thinking about maybe looking at a Shane Wolford or a Nate Childress next year?
Absolutely. 1,000%. I
Do you
want
think next
every
year that soon?
yeah, 1,000%. Listen, I want the American team as uncomfortable as the European team is. Now I know a lot of those guys may think that they have automatic bids, and to an extent they do, for whatever reason, whether it's personality or at the end of the day, they got to play good pool, right? Like it doesn't like they have to play at some level, like deep, deep level good pool. But even if they're a little bit maybe not had quite as hot a year as let's say other guys that are there, I want them to feel uncomfortable because I want them to worry about the guy who's coming for their job. And show me that in any sport, and you'll show guys who don't go and take anyone or any practice or anything for granted. And I don't think, well, I would have said the big three didn't have to go and worry about it, but especially Sky and Shane don't have to go and worry about that as much, and I'm okay with that. Um, I think they show they can hang with anyone. Now, if Sky just comes out completely flat like he did against Carlo, well, then that's a whole other topic of conversation to be had, and I hope that's not the case. And I'm not hoping for that at all. So I mean, don't go and get it twisted like that. But um, like if let's say that they don't go and perform. Yeah, I think there's other kids, and I think the future can be bright for Team USA. Nathan Childress, Shane Wolford, Devin Poteet, who wants to go and be on there, Oscar, Justin Bergman, if he goes and comes back next year and is traveling again. And if there
Espinoza.
is, yeah, Justin's out of my neck of the woods, but you got to take it seriously, man, and you got to go and put in the work. It's not just about being um it's like you can't be a Facebook dad, you can't be a Facebook pool player, you can't be a Facebook employee of the month. You got to go and do the work and have results at the end of the day. And if there are 15 kids in the pipeline that can go and play great pool, and there is, um but they really got to go and show it, to take someone's spot who's already there. And for my money, I do think there are going to be 3 open spots, win or lose. I think there's going to be roughly 3 open spots on Team USA. Now, if Team USA wins, I think Earl's as good as locked up as anyone else's. I think Earl's going to be a lock for Las Vegas next year. If by some way
What
they
about
go and pull a
What about Tyler? What if USA wins this year? Tyler's 3 for 3. I mean, it's going
well,
to be
I
hard to
guess
imagine a situation where I don't know. I mean, I guess it would still. It all
no,
would
that's
depend how it
fair.
played out.
Yeah, that's fair. But I just mean from like a rating standpoint. Like, there's
Right.
no
Oh
way
yeah,
Earl's
yeah,
not
yeah.
Earl's not going to be there in Las Vegas for that carnival. Because it's going to be mad. I mean, it's going to be bananas, and everyone there is going to be just going nuts. And he'll for sure be a part of that. But it's part of the Mosconi way, because Earl's made for the big stages. Just like as introverted as Shane is, it's Shane's performance that puts him there. Throughout the year, because you can say Shane hasn't really been there or shown up for Mosconi Cups. Where he's kind of just disappeared.
And what do you say to those people that have pointed that out and say, "Well, why did we take Shane? I mean, he hasn't performed well in Mosconi Cups."
I don't think you can leave him off, and he just shows that if he's playing pool even half a season, he's still dangerous. And like Darren said it earlier today on when we're on Cue It Up, it's like he's always there at the end. Like he may not get there at the very, very end, but like those last day or two, he's always there, man. And if Darren Appleton is calling you the greatest of all time, listen until you're ready to go and hang it up, or it's just blatantly obvious that you ain't got it anymore. Listen, you're gonna have a seat there for my money whenever you
Listen,
want.
you want to talk about how consistently Shane has played. I can this whole stretch that we've talked about these last probably we'll say almost 3 months now. I can only remember one event that Shane didn't cash in, and that was the 10 ball division in Aiken. Where he went 3 and out, I believe. I think I could be mistaken, but for my money, I think that's the only event in 3 months that he didn't cash in.
Yeah,
In these
and I'm
monster international fields, right? That's what. Listen, these are look at Corey's comment. These are all international events, right?
yeah, I don't think it doesn't matter who you are. Like you see Shane there on that side of the bracket, and he's just gonna be tough. He's got that it factor where even if you're a great player, it's like he's not a player that's going to beat himself. You have to go and beat him, and not just beat him, but I mean like bury him. You got to go and put him in a hole and make sure you finish that job because if you give him an inch, he's one of those guys that can really make you go and pay for it. And with a big break, forget. I mean, all bets are off. He's never going to go and be out of it. So,
Mike,
but
I'm gonna
it'll
ask.
be. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, I'll say it's gonna be great. Like, I don't know. It's I really enjoy the Mosconi Cup, and even when on paper it may look like they're up against it, like goofy stuff can go and happen, man. You know,
Yeah.
and it's 9 ball. We've seen it so many times in 9 ball.
So I was gonna say I'm gonna ask you one more question, and I'll let you respond to that, and I'll give you time to if there's anything else you wanted to say before we get you out of here. But um, to that point, I think let's talk about how do we create a USA win here. And I made a post a few days ago after we had the announcement for Chris Reinhold. We had all 10 players finally announced. Um, in sports, I've watched a lot of sports in my life, and I know you have as well. And what are upsets made of, right? Um, First of all, you can't quantify the kind of heart and determination and extra motivation that goes along with being a competitive individual or group of individuals who have been labeled as you have no chance, right? That's one side of it. The other side of it is you can't quantify the kind of pressure on the flip side of that when you are a team that is supposed to have, like, there's no scenario where you're able to lose this event. All of a sudden, if things start off a little funky there, I mean, everybody out there has been in a match where they're a huge favorite and all of a sudden they're down 3-0. And what's
Right.
that feel like? So those two things in any sport, that's the start, the making of an upset, and that's always present when there's a big disparity on paper between opponents. Um, and then with that, we talk about last year. I mean, how many points went Hill last year and went Europe's way? We weren't as far off as it appeared on paper. I'm not saying we were going to win, but 11-3 didn't tell the whole story. There was 4 or
For
5
sure.
Hill wins for Europe in these races to 5, right?
No, 1,000%. And I mean, all it takes is just one or two of those at crucial moments, and you don't know. Like the pressure can just be torqued the other direction quickly, especially when you have expectations because Europe has expectations.
Exactly.
They are supposed to go and win, and you can say they're supposed to go and win comfortably because they're that much um, favored. I think that pressure is kind of a funny thing, man, and some people just thrive on it, and some people just it'll expose you. I think fundamentals really shine through, and I know that like Tyler has really great fundamentals, but I've seen Tyler go and lose a lot this year to guys that he shouldn't go and lose to, at least for my money. Um, I also know that he felt disrespected not being on that team last year, and he's going to go into it with something to prove. So I don't. I think he's going to go and do all we would want is just to put forth a genuine effort, win or lose, right? That's all you can ask from anybody, right? Put in a sincere effort. You're going to get that from all these guys. Shane's been playing pool for, I mean, 6 months straight. you know, um, Sky really hasn't been playing a whole lot, but they're just hoping Sky can go and be Sky. But Chris and Tyler have been playing a lot of pool, and they're going to continue to. They're going to continue to work hard for the next 4 weeks to be as best the player as they can be. And All you got to hope for is a couple of bad breaks. You can go and capitalize, take advantage. If Europe does go and show any weakness or any kind of wrinkles, they really have to go and put their foot in their throat. Because I guarantee you, if it's the other way around, when the Americans go and show or make errors, those guys are killers over there. Every single one of them are killers. Every single one of them are gonna go and make you pay,
And that
and
crowd would be a killer too.
for sure. Oh yeah, they're gonna needle them. They're gonna be blowing in their ear right as they're down, shooting on the ball. It's gonna be a different animal. Um, but all those guys on the European side, like they've all won majors. They've all won on matchroom stages before. They know what it takes to go and get there. And I know like Tyler has won a Mosconi Cup. Shane's won a Mosconi Cup. Chris has played good, but it's gonna have to be the perfect storm, you know.
Yeah.
And if they're breaking good, that's step number one. And you just got to finish your job. You got to do your job. Got to do your job and finish it. So, um, yeah, it'll be interesting. December
Uh,
7th.
I'm excited, man. Yeah, anybody that doesn't know, December 7th through 10th, live from Alexandria Palace in London, England, Matchroom event. You guys can catch it on the DAZN app, $20 a month subscription. You can cancel it anytime. You can watch it on Sky Sports if you have access to that. Mike, thank you so much for coming on, man. Do you have anything else, closing thoughts you want to say about anything before I get you out of here?
Nope. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and much continued success, man. Thanks for what you're doing for the sport.
I appreciate you, brother. We'll talk soon, all right?
Later, guys.
All right, guys, that was Molina Mike. Big thanks to him for coming on. Let's try to fly through this with local stuff as quick as we can. We've already been live for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to try to roll through this real fast. Local recap, Delmarva Billiards Wednesday night 8-ball tournament. 23 players last week. James DeVee with the win. Jeff Hood second. Jeremy Mason third. Andrew Worcester finished fourth. Delmarva Billiards Friday night handicap 9-ball tournament. We had 26 players. Ended up in a three-way chop. James DeVee, Scott Hurley, and myself tied for first there. Fourth place, John Cole. Fifth, sixth, Keith Stillwell and Eric Brobst. Saturday, handicap 9-ball at Chop Tank Bowling and Billiards. They had 40 players. Big turnout this week. First place, Ray Ruark, double dips. George Brewington in the finals. Bryce Cornish third. Cohen Bell fourth. Fifth, sixth, John Moody Jr. and Brandon Fitchett. Brews and Q's on the Boulevard handicap 9-ball event. They had 22 players. Brett Stottlemyre with the win. First time we've seen Brett in action in a good while. Hope he's doing well. It looks like he's still playing the way he always plays. Second place, Rick Scarlato Jr. Third place, Clint Clayton. Fourth place, Charlie Gain. Nice finish for Charlie. He's been playing good. Shout out to him. Pool Players Care. Team Up for Kids Scotch Doubles 9-ball event up at South Jersey Billiards. I was there streaming. It was a good time. Big shout out to Joseph Bassetti and the work that he's doing with Pool Players Care. Raised over $3,000 to provide Christmas gifts for children at a home up in Trenton. And not just faceless, nameless kids, guys. He has a list of names and Christmas wishes for these kids, and he's going to personally see to it that they all have a nice Christmas from that money. So big shout out to Joseph Bassetti. Again, 40 teams. Dave Saracola with Tim Guinan finished first. Joe Barney and Jeremy Weber second. Carlo Favretto with Mike Mackey in third. And Buggy Brayson with Brianna Price in fourth place. Congratulations to all of them. Joe Norton Tournaments, huge weekend for JNT. 4 events in 2 days. Saturday, they had the top 64 men's bracket. I believe, I think all 4 of these events were at Center Pocket, but I could be wrong. The Saturday could have been at Bank Shots. Maybe somebody can let me know if that's correct or not. For the top 64 men's bracket, it was an invitational. He does this. He started last year doing this every year. Top 64 players by Fargo who participated in his events this year invited for this invitational. They had 44 players. Matt Craw with the win over Joe Wright in second. Rick Miller finishes third. Thomas Haas in fourth. Scott Haas, Joe Stem, fifth, sixth, and Mike Soleil and Brian Dietzenbach, seventh, eighth. Really, really tough field there. Congratulations to the guys that cashed. Top 32 women's bracket, same concept. They finished with 19 players for this tournament. Tina Malm with the win, Eugenia Giftopoulos second, Christina Madrigal in third, and Lily in fourth. Congratulations to all those ladies. Back at it Sunday at Center Pocket. I was there, $5.99 and below 8-ball tournament, 48 players for that. Great turnout. Finished real late in the morning. Shout out to the hardworking staff for Joe Norton Tournaments. I know that there ended up being some league play going on as well that day, plus the 2 tournaments that Joe was running. And so it affected the timeline a little bit. He didn't realize that they weren't going to have some of the table availability throughout the course of the day. But anyways, stuck it out, got it done. First, second shot between Eddie Oldham and Chris Martin. Had the pleasure of meeting Chris Martin. Real nice guy. Got to play against him. He played well. Congratulations to those guys. Third place, James Harris, played really well. Made a long run through the B-side to get back into the top 3. Actually knocked me out of the tournament. Played a real good match. Congratulations to him. Fourth place, Francis Cabalza. Fifth, sixth, James Saunders and En Huang. And seventh, eighth, Steve Briscoe and Michael Adams. 450 and under 9-ball event, same day, 47 players. First, second chop, I should say, Elvin Anderson and Steven Simmons. Tristan Alton third, Hector Pantoa in fourth, John Riggleman and Matthew Heckrot, fifth, sixth, Joe Zittel and Demel Royster, seventh, eighth. Great job by Joe. Joe's taken a couple weeks off, by the way, guys, back in action the weekend of Thanksgiving. We'll talk more about that in a second. B&L Billiards Tournaments, Random Draw Scotch Doubles Short Rack 8-ball Tournament at the Green Turtle in Bel Air, Maryland on Sunday. 17 teams showed up. Champions, Russ Redhead with Lucas Kilgore. Second place, Joe Orla with Steve Saylor. Third place, Richard Livering and Brian Kilgore. And fourth place, the ladies, Jenny Muhammad with Tina Malm. Nice job by all those players. That concludes the local recap, guys. Local upcoming schedule. Lots coming up. Maryland State Amateur 10-Ball Championship. That's $6.99 and below this weekend, November 13th through 14th at Chop Tank Bowling and Billiards, presented by On the Hill Productions. You can contact Rick Scarlato Jr., Lloyd Bolliard for information regarding that. That'll be at Chop Tank Bowling and Billiards, like I said. Hit them up, guys. Black Cat Pool Tour back in action after a little break there. 549 and below this Sunday at Center Pocket in Bowie, Maryland. Contact Kevin Williams or visit the Black Cat Pool Tour on Facebook or blackcatpooltour.com. 555 and below 9-ball B&L Billiard Tournaments, the Green Turtle in Bellow, Maryland. This Sunday, contact Brian Alai. You guys know B&L Billiard Tournaments Facebook page for information regarding that. DMVAT, event number 20. That's DC, Maryland, Virginia Amateur Tour. Event number 20 is 8-ball this weekend, following weekend, Saturday, November 20th at the Bank Shop Bar and Grill. Contact Chris Wilburn if you would like to play in that, or look up DMVAT Tour, I guess, or DC, Maryland, Virginia Amateur Tour on Facebook. Central PA Bar Box Open coming up real fast. Not this weekend, but next, November 18th through 21st. Actually, shouldn't say weekend. I think it starts on a Thursday. At the Genetti Hotel in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Contact Wade Kaufman for any information regarding that event. Double the entry, double the fun 9-ball coming up quick. Brian and Live Billiards Tournaments at Center Pocket, Sunday, November 21st. I will be there streaming for that event. By the way, this weekend, tuning into the Sweat on Sunday, I'll be covering the final bracket after pool play on Saturday from South Jersey Billiards for a tap team event. Busy month this month for the Sweat. Maryland State, or I should say Black Friday 10-ball tournament, November 26th at Brews and Q's on the Boulevard. I'll be there playing in that one. Get your entries in, guys. That one will fill fast. Really fun event. One-day event on Black Friday on the Hill Productions. Next 2 days after that, Maryland State Bar Table 10-Ball Championships. Once again, Brews and Q's on the Boulevard, November 27th and 28th, presented by On the Hill Productions, guys. You know what to do. JNT back in action that weekend, the 4th annual Limit 140 Celebrity Shot Scotch Doubles event. That's a real fun event where Celebrity Shot tells the tale, right? Your partner can tag you in to play a specific shot once per rack. And that event's a lot of fun. I can speak to that. I played not last year, but the year before I played in that event with my partner Ranji, and we had a blast. So check out Joe Norton Tournaments a couple weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. for that one if you're interested. That'll be at Center Pocket in Bowie, Maryland. Sorry to go through that so fast, guys, but I know we were already live for a long time. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. Once again, huge thanks to Molina Mike coming on, breaking down some Mosconi Cup stuff with me. Had a blast. Great to have him on. Make sure you guys tune in next week. I'll work to get a good guest for you all. I need to contact Mike Page, see when I can get him to come on. I'd love to have a good Fargo conversation with him. But thanks for watching, guys. One more time, big shout out to Murray's Plumbing and Heating. That's Raymond Murray, and you can see the information in the top left-hand corner of your screen if you guys want to hit him up if you need that kind of work done in the Baltimore area. And soon enough, he'll be expanding those services to the state of Delaware. So thanks to him for sponsoring the podcast. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show today. Once again, sorry to go so fast through the local stuff, but you guys understand, long show. And I guess that's it for today. I will see you guys live from South Jersey Billiards on Sunday. Actually, tune in Friday night for the Friday night event at Delmarva Billiards and Sports Bar. Hope you guys have a good week. Play some pool, watch some pool, enjoy yourselves. Until next time, thanks for watching The Sweat.